Imagine a static site generator with built-in natural language processing analysis that can be installed from a single binary file with no dependencies, comes with an MCP server, and has a templating engine with a comfortable JSX-like syntax that lets you share context between your layouts and Markdown files. This is what we are cooking at the moment. We needed a static site generator that would give us full control over the abstract syntax tree. So basically, full control over how content is understood structurally. So we're building Poet, and in this video I'll give you a quick sneak peek into this project. This is an example of a page layout you can create in Poet. We are using Rhai scripting language for shortcodes, but with some additional custom syntax of ours to make them well suited for working with content. It works very much like JSX, but I will show you some convenient features we introduced into the syntax. Our design principle is that everything in Poet is either a shortcode or a Markdown page. There are no other moving parts like layouts, sections, or templates. Everything is just one of two types of files. And the way we build Poet is that we rewrote JSX into Rust, but replaced JavaScript with Rhai, which is an embedded scripting language for Rust. Our template engine is designed for server-side rendering only, and the project is optimized for websites that are content first. And we're using as-built to bundle assets. This gives us some cool features. Take a look. With as-built, Poet automatically generates preloads to avoid waterfall. It adds an anti-cache hash to all assets, like you can see in here, and also assets added inline in Markdown pages and Rhai shortcodes use as-built as well. And now I will show you a few syntax examples that you can expect in Poet. So first of all, while the HTML needs to be correct, there is no need for the fragment wrapper. I can use the component block and put the elements directly inside it. Next thing is that instead of using ternary operators, I can use the regular if-else statements because Rhai treats them as expressions. For example, here I am checking if the type property exists in props, and then I modify the class accordingly. And here I'm checking if the description property in the front matter is empty. The next thing is the switch statement. And again, Rhai treats switches as expressions, so I can place them directly inside my templates. I am also using class instead of class name. And finally, we are introducing some global functions in the project. I have two examples here. The first one is the class X for conditionally composing classes. And here's the error function that raises an error with a custom message. But enough of the theory. Let's see Poet syntax in action, and to do that I will build a simple website. And I can use a template repository to help get me started. So I am on GitHub in the Poet template repository that I can use as a template. I can go with the default name, make this private perhaps, and create the repo. Now I will clone it. And I can run the website. And now I have the template project running in my browser. Poet is still a work in progress at the moment, but I can already see some useful components that I can use for building a static website. The first super useful thing is that templates and Markdown pages share the same context, which means that I can use the same components and variables in both types of files in the exact same way. Here's an example. Let's say that I want to have the same node component on top of all of my documentation pages. Here's how the code for this component can look like, and I will add this to the layout of the documentation pages. For example, under the H1. So let's check what it looks like in the browser. And I can see the node component is on all documentation pages. And if I want to have the same thing in one of my Markdown files, for example, inside this navigation page, well, I can use the same component in the exact same way. So I will go to the Markdown, find the navigation page, and paste the exact same code. I can, for instance, only just change the content a little bit, and I can see this works exactly the same. Let's now take a closer look at the code and project structure. In the shortcuts folder, I have all of the layouts that make up this particular project example. Each layout starts with the template function that takes context, props, and content as arguments. Next, I have the component keyword, and inside I have our JSX-like syntax. Notice again that while the HTML needs to be correct, I don't need to use the JSX fragments. And the way this particular project is organized is that this layout minimal is what makes the top-level layout shared by all pages, and this content is what gets replaced with content coming from other layouts. So let's take a look at another layout, for example, page homepage. And again, I have the template function, same arguments, and the component keyword. And notice that I am using the name of the layout minimal layout as a tag to ensure that my homepage is placed inside this layout. And I can customize this a little bit to make sure it reflects what I want to build. And I can check in the browser, and this gets reflected immediately thanks to live reloading. Now let's take a look at the Markdown pages. They are located in the content folder, and if I open one of them, I can see that they use the DOM syntax for the front matter, and the content is below. And in the front matter, I can see that this Markdown page uses the layout documentation page as layout, so let's take a look at it now. And there are a couple of cool things in here. Notice how switches are used as expressions. In this case, this whole render menu function is what builds the left side navigation of the documentation pages. And depending on the depth level, it either displays the section title or the clickable link to different pages. And I can see that when I browse through different pages. And what else is cool? Poet is written in Rust and Rhai, the scripting language we're using for layouts, which integrates well with Rust. This means that you'll be able to install Poet from a single binary file. And here I wanted to take a moment and thank the awesome team at Rhai who offered us lots of help and support when we were working on our templating syntax. You will find their homepage and GitHub linked in the description below, so make sure to check them out. And that's all for today's sneak peek into Poet. We are not done yet. We are now working on some AI features that will let us analyze content semantically, and for example, mark a piece of content as a single source of truth or offer linting-like suggestions to keep the content consistent. But no, we're not going to add any write it for me text generation features. That part is still going to be on you. You will find Poet's documentation linked in the description below. And if you want to receive more updates about our project, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.